Oh, hey guys, what's up? So, yeah, I've got some drinking games in front of me, and no doubt you're wondering why. Uh, because, let's face it, I went to see the new Transformers movie over the weekend, and drink is the only recourse when faced with a Michael Bay Transformers movie. He reneged on his so-called promise never to make any more after the fourth one, Age of Extinction. And indeed, when I went to go and see this new one the last night, it felt like cinema had been made extinct. So, where to start? If I was to say that this is the best Transformers movie of the lot, I'd actually be telling the truth. I'd also be telling the truth if I said this is an absolute bag of dog shit. So, attempting to sum up these films is much of a muchness, and I know what the defence of these films is. It's that they are stupid, dumb movies, ostensibly made for teenage boys and only for teenage boys, and therefore they're allowed to be utterly cretinous and utterly stupid. Well, let's get one thing absolutely straight, okay? There are well made, stupid movies, and there are badly made, stupid movies. You think of something like Under Siege, for example, the Steven Seagal movie. That is an utterly dumb movie. It's so dumb, and yet it's really good fun because Gary Busey cross dresses and hijacks a naval warship with Tommy Lee Jones. That is brilliant. That is concept. These movies, the Transformers movies, by contrast, show an absolute sneering contempt for everybody who watches them, and is not good enough to say that they are stupid, therefore this is acceptable. No, it's not acceptable at all. They are badly made, they are stupid, and they are badly made. So the Transformers series obviously goes right the way back to 2007, although obviously it actually goes back beyond that to the 1986 animated movie, which had very, very famous luminaries like Orson Welles contributing their voices. Clearly, the current Transformers movies owe no allegiance to anything but themselves. They don't owe any continuity to the 1986 movie. In fact, they appear to owe very little continuity to the sheer innocence of having a Transformers toy, where you get the toy and you would transform it, and you would, the car would turn into a robot, back into a car. These movies don't even seem to take an interest in that because there is so much garbage going on, and at 150 minutes long, that's a lot of garbage. Ironically enough, this is the shortest of the Transformers movies, or it's one of the shortest. I believe it's the shortest since the first one, which came out back in 2007. But goodness me, did it feel like I'd grown a long white Kill Bill style beard by the time I got out of it. So, as I said, Michael Bay's back, as is Mark Wahlberg. This picks up from the end of the previous movie, Age of Extinction, in which you have Optimus Prime has gone off in space. He's floating around in space. He is picked up by on his home planet of Cybertron, which has been laid waste to or something. There's an alien robot woman queen or something, and she turns him evil or something. And then he basically, Cybertron is therefore on a course back to Earth with Optimus Prime, voiced again by Peter Cullen, now evil. He's now a nemesis. He now realizes that in order to save Cybertron, he has to destroy Earth. Uh-oh, big problem. Back on Earth, we have this strange state of affairs whereby the Transformers are now actively out in human society, but they are somewhat underground. Mark Wahlberg's character, Cade Yeager, is now sort of protecting them. So he's breaking the law by protecting them, because there are all these sorts of military types who are out looking to destroy the Transformers and yada 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 yada. There's stuff going on. And over in Britain, you have Anthony Hopkins, of whom I'm a huge fan, as I imagine many people are, is a Transformer expert who appears to live in a stately home right on the White Cliffs of Dover. Although I only say that because at one point Mark Wahlberg is flown over from America to England by Anthony Hopkins' robot butler, who weirdly is voiced by Mr. Carson from Downton Abbey. He's flown over the White Cliffs of Dover, which is helpfully pointed out in the film. Oh, that's the White Cliffs of Dover. Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. And yet, straight away, they appear to land at Anthony Hopkins' palatial country house. Geographically, it makes Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves look amazing. And what then happens is that there's something to do with Arthurian legend, and of course, it all comes back to Mark Wahlberg's character. Apparently, at the start of this movie, there are Transformers being mixed up with Arthurian knights. You get Stanley Tucci at the beginning, who is Merlin, plays Merlin as a drunkard. It's just a shame that all the medieval jokes were done a lot better in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and that was probably made for a fraction of this film's catering budget, really. So essentially Anthony Hopkins has to inform Mark Wahlberg of what's happening with Cybertron, and Mark Wahlberg will save the world. Or will he? No, actually, there's one other person who needs to come into this, who is an Oxford polo playing professor played by Laura Haddock, who is Peter Quill's mum in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I love the Guardians films, but crikey, it's very, very hard to keep a straight face, especially as a British person, when watching these movies. When literally Michael Bay's interpretation of Britain is the main female character is introduced being British by playing a polo match. And then driving her antiquated 1950s, 60s car in front of that famous circular library in Oxford, whose name escapes me, all the while wearing that implausible Michael Bay get-up, which is referred to by Mark Wahlberg in the movie as a stripper outfit, and it's very, very hard to stay sane. It would have made me angry were it not so thunderingly stupid. And of course, when Anthony Hopkins turns up, you know that he's British because he has massive stately home, he wears a flat cap, he smokes a pipe, he has a robot butler, and for some reason, although the character only turns up once, he has a transformer that is some sort of ancient Panzer tank or something that speaks with a British accent, but he only turns up in one scene, so doesn't really make any sense. But really, all of the stereotyping is still there. I mean, it's not just the British that get it in the neck. I mean, the way that Michael Bay depicts Americans is a backlit sunset with sweat pouring off somebody's face, going. That is how Michael Bay does Americans. So Americans get stereotyped as much as the British. There is also a Japanese fighting robot voiced by Ken Watanabe, who is, of course, always flailing about with a samurai sword, because of course that's what Japanese people do. There are Cockneys. There's John Turturro. John Turturro has now appeared in several of these movies. John, what are you doing? It's really funny. John Turturro obviously presumably signed on for this one because all he has to do is be in Cuba wearing a pair of brightly coloured shorts, talking it into a phone to Anthony Hopkins' character. It's obviously a Michael Caine in Jaws the Revenge scenario where you open the script and you go, oh yeah, stand in front of a phone box in Cuba while wearing a pair of nice spangled shorts, yeah, fine. So the stereotyping is still there. That's the Michael Bay hallmark, albeit not as bad as in the previous ones. I think, although as well, the writing of the lead female character is ridiculous. It isn't as icky as it has been in the previous movies. Let's not forget, in the previous film, Age of Extinction, there was a running gag about Texas statutory rape laws, which just made me go like that. It's not as bad as that. Saying it's not as bad as that really isn't saying anything. And ultimately, when we get to the massive crashy bashy, Cybertron's coming in from over here, the Earth is here, yeah, and it's all going to converge on Stonehenge. Why Stonehenge? Well, presumably because Michael Bay thought, well, that's a bit weird. Let's have Stonehenge be the centre of all the Transformers mythology, and let's just completely level Salisbury Plain. It is just utterly incomprehensible. The editing is so bad. People will point at things off screen and go, "What's that?" And rather than follow the traditional shot technique, which is to then show us what the character is looking at, Michael Bay will just have the character beckon off screen and leave us to sort of guess at what is actually happening. There are rampant inconsistencies in the editing. I mean, just basic film editing law. I'm not a filmmaker, and even I was watching this kind of staggered at the incompetence of the filmmaking. It's turned the volume is turned up to a level that reduced my brain to the consistency of a marshmallow. And again, at 150 minutes long, that's a lot of marshmallow that was ultimately oozing out of my ears. It's just thunderingly unfunny. It's really stupid. It doesn't even have the guts to play itself really for laughs. It's a movie that thinks it's being funny, but it's not actually being funny at all, because Michael Bay's sense of comic timing is absolutely non-existent. Mark Wahlberg, again, Mark Wahlberg has been really good lately. Mark Wahlberg was in Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day, both with Peter Berg, and he was fantastic in both of those movies. This just makes me think, Mark, just seriously give it up. You're actually a really good actor. Anthony Hopkins is actually a bright point in this movie. There is, I hate to say it, there is one line of dialogue involving a play on the word chaste, as in CHASTE, which is to which Mark he asks Mark Wahlberg, "Are you chaste?" And Mark Wahlberg then says, "I was chased by a transformer when I got here," or something to that extent. And then Laura Haddock and Anthony Hopkins know chased. He chased. And then Mark Wahlberg says, "No, I got the joke." that gag actually made me laugh, and that is as good as the film gets. So if that sounds like the absolute pits of despair, you're going to struggle with this movie even more than I did. It repeats all of the problems that the previous Transformers had, albeit modulated down slightly. And the way that Michael Bay attempts to get around this is to basically dial down the sexism, the racism that was so infamous in the previous Transformers movies, particularly the second one, by having the characters actually self-referentially point at it. He thinks that rather than removing those unsavoury aspects altogether, I will have the characters remark on them in this incredibly narky, meta way. And that's obviously a way of getting around his critics. It's not the way forward. Okay, just get rid of all that garbage. Okay, just make a movie like Real Steel, in which you have just 90 minutes of big robot battles, because that film was actually really good fun and really underrated. This is just puffed up beyond all proportion. It's really poor. Although, as I said, it is the best. It is the best in the series. Apparently, we're getting a Bumblebee spin-off soon. What can I say? I think I'll be resorting to these again in future. Thanks, guys.